Welcome back, tribe. I have an episode here sent by you guys, The Rise of Insufferable Women by Steph Marshall. She only has 8,000 subs. Let's check it out.
Our society's double standard with this is just ridiculous. Calling Lizzo an empowering role model while calling 50 Cent at the Super Bowl fat. What? Hey everyone, welcome to another video. Before we get into it, I just wanted to share why I make these videos. Being an athlete is my life. It's all I think about every day. How can I become a better alpine ski racer? Because of this, I'll admit, I have my blinders on with regards to a lot of things that are happening within our society. So when the trans athlete issue became part of my world of women's sports, I thought it was my duty to stand up and protect the thing that I love most, not only for myself, but for other women and girl athletes. And the more I started learning about this issue, which is seen in the evolution of my videos, is that trans athletes in women's sports is just the tip of the iceberg of a much larger societal and cultural phenomenon of division and destruction. So my goal with these videos is to try to find unity in our current society and culture of chaos, because we are unwilling to have honest, truthful, and respectful conversations about certain issues. And this scares me about the future we are creating. Now, regarding this video and feminism, I am extremely grateful for all the hard work that courageous women have done to allow women to vote, own land, enter higher education institutions, and all the freedoms and opportunities and choices we have today and we enjoy today as women. But we need to have an honest conversation about what feminists and certain women's groups are fighting for today, and if it's actually truly benefiting women and society.
Why do we have the expression, that's a man's job?
Because certain things are a man's job. Because it's like, why gotta take the trash out if there's a man in the house?
Right, so I'm just saying...
Or lift heavy things.
Well, is it fair to say if you want equal privileges, you need equal responsibilities?
No, I want... Why is responsibility split?
Because you gotta take...
I'm trying to get equal pay.
Because you gotta take the bad with the good.
Why extra shit? Why can't I have equal pay?
Don't you have to take the bad with the good?
No, you do not. We should have equality, period. You see what I mean? You know what I mean?
I don't know what that means, and I don't want you to keep going.
Initially, if I understand correctly, women were fighting to attain equal rights to men. But recently, that goalpost of equal human rights keeps moving and shifting to have a different meaning. So my question is, what are we fighting for as women? I think women, myself included, have been so programmed into this belief that we need to be sexually liberated and independent and take back control of our lives, that we've lost the value of being a female. All the things that make us women, our connections and relationships with men, and mothers, our desires to have children and a family. Sometimes we need to step back to look at things from all sides to determine if what we are fighting for makes sense. As I've said, my purpose is unity. And if we want to achieve that, we need to start having honest conversations to try and move forward together.
I wonder what unity looks like in her mind, because if you're going to unify with gender ideologists, they're taking your spaces away by identifying as a woman, yet enjoying the benefits of a biologically male body. It's such a weird conversation here in the West. Guys, I've been in Dubai. I'm currently in Dubai. It's shocking, the difference. Just walking around day to day, not a single pink hair, not a single weirdo with a bunch of piercings everywhere, neck or face tattoos, nothing. No hedonistic or degenerate stuff on the level of the United States or Western Europe. It's so refreshing, man. Because in the United States, I lived in Phoenix for a good amount of time, and you can't walk around anywhere downtown without having the trans flag, LGBTQ, the rainbow, everything just plastered everywhere, on every government building, on every library, streets paved with the colors spray painted It's insane how much it's pushed on you. Over here in Dubai, I could walk down the street and it just looks like I just got thrust back into the 90s. People are all normal. There's families pushing baby strollers everywhere, holding hands. Everybody looks well groomed, well kept. It's nice. Eastern Europe, very much the same. Everybody, for the most part, well groomed, well kept, except for the morons that try to copy American style and they try to look like SoundCloud rappers. I've seen a couple of them walking around with face tats, neck tats everywhere, just look like straight garbage. If you have neck and face tattoos, you're trash. I'll stand on that hill forever. It is not sexy. It's not attractive. Man or woman, If you got fucking face tattoos, you are a loser, period. Luckily, it's very rare in Europe. In America, it's kind of ridiculous the amount of people with face tats you'll see in the city. Usually that's like the epicenter of degeneracy. And over here in the Middle East, zero. Hopefully those boys out here keep it that way.
In this video, I want to highlight certain double standards of women, which I think are not only really hurting women, but also men and society. Men and women have very different athletic capabilities. That's the truth. It's biology and facts. The issue is when you're trying to substantiate equal pay for lower generated value. Sure, you might have an NBA player and a WNBA player with an equal amount of game time per year. But the question is the value generated from that game time equal? We created women's sports because we cannot physically compete against men with an added level of danger in contact sports. This decision to divide competitive categories based on sex comes with penalties, one of them being pay. And this is where the double standard arises, because we want our own category of women's sports, which I am 100% in favor of, but some women also want the same pay benefits as men's sports.
It's one of those things that we are not asking to get paid what the men get paid. We're asking to get paid the same percentage of revenue shared.
What these women's groups conveniently ignore are the differences in viewership, sponsorship, advertising revenue, broadcasting contracts, merchandise sales, and other higher value economies that men.
Literally everything that makes the NBA valuable. Literally everything she just named is why the players get paid what they do. Nobody watches the WNBA. And it says it right here. Why do WNBA players make less money than their counterparts? The most important action in the history of WNBA is soon to come. Last season, the Players' Labor Union opted out of its collective bargaining agreement at the end of this season. They chose not to wait until the deal expired in 2021. Adam Silver declared that the WNBA lost $12 million last year. The root of the wage gap is simple. The NBA rakes in more than $8 billion in revenue every year, and the WNBA doesn't generate a fraction of that. David Barry from Forbes quoted that a source suggested a conservative estimate of the WNBA's revenue would approximately be $60 million, bro. $60 million. Even at the current CBA, which stipulates approximately 80-20 revenue split between players and owners in favor of the owners, that revenue valuation would suggest players would be taking out $12 million. All of them. All of them would be splitting $12 million for all the teams in the WNBA. There's your answer. This is why. Get more eyeballs to tune in. Get more asses in the seats. Get more jersey sales. Get more sponsorship deals. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to watch women play sports. Sorry. Especially the WNBA. If we're going to watch a competitive sport, we want to see the very best physical specimens of our entire race of human beings, which happens to be men. It is what it is, dude. No one wants to tune into the WNBA when you can't fucking dunk, when your layups are trash, when you can get bodied by high school boys. That's the level you're at. It's a joke, dude. These people have lived such soft lives that they don't understand the chasm between physical differences of men and women. Yet their soft lives, they're arguing for something that the rest of the world knows, practically common sense, except in the West.
Men generate, yet still complain and demand equal pay. This just makes women athletes look irrational, delusional, and privileged. The key issue is the value generated. Regardless of sex, all athletes should be compensated based on value, period. The body positivity movement is almost exclusively directed towards women. Why is that the case? We celebrate plus-size women and models, while men are still expected to be fit, tall, and muscular. Our society's double standard with this is just ridiculous.
Yeah, I had that community post where Lizzo, the paragon of body positivity, launches shapewear. Meanwhile, 50 Cent shamed online following Super Bowl halftime performance. Same shit with Keanu Reeves. They had him chilling on a yacht or a boat or something, saying he's looking at a shape. The dude's 50 plus. But they think Lizzo is a strong, fit queen. She's a few years away from a heart attack, bro. Let's not go there.
Calling Lizzo an empowering role model while calling 50 Cent at the Super Bowl fat. What? My problem is not the fact that people are overweight, but the glorification of an unhealthy lifestyle. that gets perpetuated amongst younger generations that not only leads to
Man, we have strayed far from God, baby. Look at that gluttony. That's the embodiment of gluttony. That's a sin, playboy. And we're celebrating sin in the world today.
medical complications and a reduced quality of life, but also shortens one's life expectancy.
Look at this. Man.
Life is too short to worry about these haters like your heart, blood vessel, joints, and sugar level. To hell with those haters. You only live once. So keep feasting and increasing. The sky is the limit, girl. More fast food grease to your elbow. After all, something must kill a man or a woman.
Do you ever get dressed and just be like, damn, I look good? I did today.
And the double
Lord have mercy.
standard is that on the male side, the fitness demands are so high that it's naturally impossible to achieve and maintain those.
Yeah, we got to look like He-Man. They got to look like the Pillsbury Doughboy. The differences are tremendous, dude.
Standards, forcing some men to use exogenous hormones and other drugs to achieve this extreme physical state. The last few decades, we've experienced some pretty good times, which has allowed women to become increasingly independent, and in Western societies, for the most part, enjoy the same opportunities and rights as men. But the problem arises when some women take that independence to an extreme, claiming men are useless and that women no longer need men. And this is where the double standard arises, because women make these statements in buildings men built, using devices men invented, running on power men generated, and inside economies that men largely manage. Women are happy to cherry pick men's roles during good times, but as soon as things get tough, women revert to traditional roles and want men to help, defend, and support them. For example, in Ukraine, with the Russian invasion, women and children were protected and expedited out of the country or to safe areas, while the men were mandated by law to stay behind and defend their land. A responsibility those men of Ukraine were mostly proud to accept, and likely made life easier knowing their loved ones were out of harm's way. Was this equality? Did we treat men and women as equals? No. But it was the right decision. In good times, sure, some women might think we should be treated as equals, but it's in hard times that the truth and reality shows itself. In hard times, women are not treated as equals to men. For the most part, we are protected, supported, and defended by men. The reality is...
And what's messed up, living in Bucharest, I can tell you there's a bunch of Ukrainian women that are there, and they're having a blast, boys. They're out at the nice restaurants. They're getting taken out on dates. Meanwhile, the men that they were dating, their ex-boyfriends, husbands, whatever they were to them, are in the country fighting, dying in a ditch. Isn't that some shit? So even if you somehow come out of this war alive, say you're a Ukrainian man, the likelihood that your woman is out there in Romania and Poland and Sweden and wherever she's at, wherever the refugees went, she's having a blast at nightclubs. She's getting taken to dinner dates. Her life's not going to stop. She may be thinking about you here and there, but as the time goes on, she's just going to accept that, I just got to move on with my life. I don't even know if he's still alive. Loyalty, zero. Imagine fighting, dying in a ditch for your, quote, loved ones, and that shit's happening. It's really common, dude. It's disgusting to see. It really is. And there's a couple, I see the Ukrainian dudes there too, in Romania, and I'm looking at them like, hey bro, your country got invaded. You're over here having a fucking meal at a restaurant? Is that really what we're doing right now? It's not like your government unjustly invaded, like somebody stepped into your homeland, started destroying it. This is a fight for survival, and you ran away. I look at them as cowards, personally. Don't care what anybody says, but I'm never for any unjust wars. But if the enemy comes knocking on your door in your town, in your homeland, I feel like it's your duty as a man to step up. Everybody in America, guarantee, would think the same. Nobody wants to go fight and die to protect American assets, rich men's corporate greed and their interests. But if somebody came knocking over there in Kansas and Arkansas, bet your fucking ass people would be lining up to defend it. It's different, man, when they're coming knocking down your door in your homeland versus fighting some random war overseas. I don't know. To me, I look down on them. I don't care what anybody fucking says about that.
Women need strong, courageous, and capable men. Similar to my last point, certain women and feminist groups demand equal representation in certain jobs, but not others. For example, women demand more C-level representation within corporations in cities, but not manual labor jobs in underground mines, offshore oil platforms, or commercial fishery vessels. The double standard is that women only want equality in safe, clean, non-physically demanding or dangerous jobs. And honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong with women wanting the comfortable jobs and telling men they should do the physically demanding, dangerous jobs. But let's not make an argument for equality based on those facts and decisions. What I will say is that in pursuing a C-level role, if women put in the same amount of hard work, dedication, sacrifice over decades of time, and bring the same value, competency, and qualifications to the hiring table as men, and are still not being hired, then that's a problem. But we can't just look at CEOs across the Fortune 500 companies and a list of their board members and assume sexism because women are not equally represented. Yes, we should have more women in companies in positions of power, but a company shouldn't only want you because you're a woman to fill a quota. It needs to be earned. Furthermore, if there's 10 times more men equally qualified who apply for a job, of course there's a higher probability that a man gets hired. It's just a numbers game. Feminist groups also conveniently ignore that very few men reach the C-level in organizations. Many men suffer the same glass ceiling of promotion stagnation.
Oh, that's a good article I should probably cover. Disturbing rise of NILFs. Men not in the labor force.
Even when they're qualified for those roles. Regardless of sex, across all types of organizations, including in sports,
That's some good articles.
those who generate the most value should be compensated accordingly. Because if they are of high value, the organization is incentivized to keep them around by paying them well and keeping them happy. If not, they can just take their value to another organization that will pay them what they're worth. The issue is that both males and females overestimate the value they deliver relative to their income. If a high-value employee feels like they're being underpaid, but chooses not to ask for a promotion or find a better job, then that's on them. You cannot blame the phantom patriarchy for what is your personal responsibility. Women are celebrated for having high standards and a long list of demands they seek in a partner. But if a man has preferences, it's seen as sexist. For example, it's empowering for women to want a partner who is tall, fit, has a nice smile, dresses well, has a good job, drives a nice car, etc. But men suggesting they are attracted to women with large breasts or a big ass is sexist or creepy? I just don't get it. Someone please explain this to me in the comments. But these days, women demand that men support body positivity and should love women at any size.
You what, bro? That top left one says Tess Holiday reveals she's recovering from anorexia. Do you see what that picture looks like? Where? We have to stop the idea that only very underweight people can have anorexia. Girl, stop. You ain't... Quit playing.
While women also idolize the most fake, body negative woman alive, Kim Kardashian, who has had God knows how many surgeries to change the appearance of her body, done extreme diets, and used extreme weight loss medications. And before you start hating on me in the comments saying that it's only men who idolize her, I can tell you it's not men who are buying Skims and watching their reality show. When it comes to selecting a partner, men are pretty simple. Yes, initially they are attracted by visual beauty, but in a long-term relationship, they just want a woman who is respectful, loyal, feminine, and fun to be around. Men are often happy to date down if the outcome is a woman who will give them an easy, fun life with a great family. Women, on the other hand, often show up with a long list of demands, go through an extensive vetting process, and have preconceived expectations about the relationship dynamic. Women generally date and marry up, seeking superior, more powerful partners. And still, most relationships fail and marriages end in divorce. And maybe women should take a cue from men and recognize that the bad boy is fine for a one night, but the good guy is the one you want to marry. One of the goals of modern feminism is to remove traditional gender roles, empowering women to behave like men, mirroring the same male behavior feminists call sexist. But modern feminists also want to maintain these gender identities because it allows.
And here's why society is structured the way it is. Earlier this year, women became the majority of the workforce for the first time in U.S. history. Most managers are now women too. And for every 2 men who get a college degree this year, 3 women will do the same. Economic incentives, man, they're the new earners, the bulk of the workforce. So politics, politicians, talking points, all will be structured around women. And men will be getting left behind. That's unfortunate. So you should already know that the problem is going to keep getting worse.
Also want to maintain these gender identities because it allows women to be treated as superiors and receive preferential treatment. Essentially, women should be independent and treated as equals until the bill arrives, because that's what men do. This double standard is why.
And this one says, times are changing and settling for an unsatisfying male partner is less appealing than choosing self-respect and living alone. So I'll translate that for you. She was getting pumped and dumped by Chad. She had a high quality man. Obviously, those kinds of dudes never settle down. They're exercising their options, but that's the standard set forth. So you, Beta Bob, Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. I make 45, 50, 60,000 a year, you're never going to be good enough. First of all, you don't have the extreme attraction of the Chad. You're just a normal, regular, schmegular dude, and on top of that, your pockets are light as fuck. You're not making hundreds of thousands of dollars, which would be in your favor, of course, regardless of you being average. But if you got average looks and you got an average salary, you're absolutely screwed. You need to get a passport, bro, and leave, because there's nothing here for you. It is what it is. You're seen as an undesirable. You're seen as the invisible class to women. You don't exist. You're not on their radar. Want a litmus test for how this shit works? Open up dating apps, and if you can't get any matches, and I'm talking none, or 1 or 2 every once in a while, that is your natural place in the world through a woman's eyes. That's the most real test you can do right now as a man. Open up a dating profile, put your best pictures forward, do a decent bio, link your Instagram, whatever. And if you can't get any matches, that's your place in the world. It's a brutal reality to accept. You will fare far better, most likely, in places where you become the exotic one. And again, recognize that you always have to provide. You need to make money. Number one, traditional women, especially overseas, they want a family, they want kids. That shit costs money. You are not getting around this. If you don't figure out a way to earn money to provide provision, you're done for, period. It's all a wish, dude. This is why we say work hard in your 20s so you could play in your 30s, or settle down when you have the experience and deep into your career so you could support a family.
Widespread. Women should be sexually liberated and feel empowered sleeping around, but men doing the same are immature and have commitment issues. Women should reject being feminine and instead embrace their masculine energy, while men still need to be masculine, but in touch with their feminine side. Women should be financially independent, but expect men to pay on dates, for drinks at the club, and for special occasions. Women should have their own careers, but shouldn't have to cook, clean, and take care of the household. At a bare minimum, these are shared roles. But men with their own careers are still expected to be the handyman around the house, mow the lawn, and take out the trash. Men should support women's desires to wait to start a family, but women hate when men go after younger, more fertile women. Women can publicly disrespect men and say violent things towards men without any accountability. Women can sexually assault men without consequences, but if men assault women on any scale, they are publicly shamed, lose their jobs, lose their status, and can be criminally convicted. Divorce arrangements often favor women, giving them custody of the children and financial support. Today, in Western societies, women have more opportunity and privileges than any other time in history. But what do we do with that power? Let me be clear, it's not all women, but some do treat men like garbage, like dispensable objects for their entertainment. And the worst part, women do it to gain social status and adoration on social media.
Nah. It turns out lots of people can relate to wanting to just be really mean to misogynistic men, and that's essentially what it is I do. I seek them out. I platform them just to solely humiliate them, and then I go about my silly goose tasks for the rest of the day.
Promoting the behavior to other women and younger generations. It's just gross. As I mentioned in the intro, my goal is to have honest conversations.
Right, and then this whole space of the red pill or men's manosphere, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's all misogyny. It's all misogyny to talk about what we tend to talk about. But the moment a woman is misandrist, she talks about man, puts men down a peg, it's empowered. She gets ads on TV. She gets invited to talk shows. She gets platformed. She gets pushed in the mainstream. Meanwhile, this entire space for men gets suppressed, gets demonetized, gets deplatformed. Isn't that something, dude? Yay, double standards.
About issues affecting our society. And right now, I see a growing divide between men and women that's having a negative impact on millions of people around the world. Too often in these types of conversations, only one side of the argument gets discussed, which leads to further division. As a woman, I think it's important to be brutally self-reflective and acknowledge our contributions to the problem. And I would hope men do the same in efforts of trying to find common ground and resolve our differences in efforts to move forward stronger together. To end this video, the last thing I will say is let's just try to be more respectful of one another. And remember, we are all just humans with the same desires of belonging. If our desire is progress, we need to be willing to sit down and have the honest, difficult conversations with those we disagree with. Agreeing to disagree just doesn't really exist these days. And that just creates these echo chambers that get propagated without checks and balances. That's dangerous. I try to approach everything with an open mind, and I'm willing to change my mind if there's enough evidence to support it. But to just be stuck, not willing to grow and learn from others, especially those with different ideas, is very limiting. I am learning more every day as I research these topics and listen and read other people's opinions and perspectives, especially those I disagree with. I think it makes me a better, more understanding person. That's it from me on this video. I would love to hear your thoughts.
That's a good message. We should be bridge building instead of burning, you know. One side, both sides have the echo chambers where they're not trying to hear anything. Ears are plugged and they've demonized the other side, which is unfortunate because we need both. The happiest life a man could live is with a woman and children in a nuclear family. Same goes for women. Unfortunately, we're at odds and butting heads over stupid things, and it all comes down to the propaganda disseminated by the governments that benefit from having each of us fighting one another and living in destabilized households where we're dependent on the government and the system, because those at the top benefit, man. And that's the name of the game. If you try to be a bridge builder, if you try to be a coalition builder in the world today, is what's extremely dangerous, because those are the ones throughout history that typically get killed. Those are the ones that affect the most change. So I like the end of her message about trying to understand and bring everybody together. The system also benefits from this, and it's a thought I've been having in my head too about maybe altering my message, because if you constantly clown on one side, the powers to be actually let you do that because they benefit from the chaos. They benefit from the division. So women hating on men, men hating on women, that's good for the powers to be. But if you start to coalition build, if you're a bridge builder, if you're uniting groups against a common cause, which is those upstairs that run the show, that's when they start to pay attention. That's when you get suicided with 2 bullets in the head. That's when you disappear off the face of the planet. Perfect example of a coalition builder that tries to unite many different people through the truth, Russell Brand. I like his, for lack of a better word, brand of politics. And we're seeing what happens when you speak in a manner that gets both the left and the right together thinking along common grounds and focusing their gaze on those that have put them in this predicament. I think it's about time that people in this space start to do the same. We'll probably get a lot further if we sit down with one another and have more positive conversations about the culture, about the realities of engaging in hookup culture or going down the certain career paths or the gynocracy in general, whatever it is, the topics that we want to discuss. If we take it from a point of view of coming together, sharing an understanding and figuring out a solution to the issue, we'll be better off. But as long as we stay in our own isolated echo chambers where we get to talk shit about one another constantly all the time, nothing gets done. And that's the point. The system likes it when it's broken because it's easier to control the masses at the bottom and they don't have enough time to think about you, the lawmaker. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Interesting video by Steph Marcel. Give her a follow. The Rise of Insufferable Women.